Bighorn sheep used to be highly populated across the West, and some market hunting, but mostly disease wiped them out, almost wiped them out. And that was a disease called Mycoplasma pneumoniae. It's a causative agent of pneumonia, and it was brought by domestic sheep moving out west by settlers. So since then, there's been massive declines, and there were massive declines in bighorn sheep herds across the West. And we're on kind of a recovery now. Well, we relocated sheep to a lot of areas across the West, translocated them to areas where they were formerly extirpated. Some of that was done in conjunction with removing sheep allotments on public land and to not have that further threat of pathogen spillover. And now, we're kind of reached a stable where we don't have a lot of places to put sheep anymore that aren't near domestic sheep. And we don't, at least in Nevada. And we also are dealing with a lot of disease within our herds. It's limiting production. The way the disease works is when you have a strain come in, the immunity is only strain specific. So an animal that is exposed to a new strain that's already been exposed to different would still get the disease potentially. And so what happens is you have this die-off, and it can be a small die-off of adults or a large die-off. Depends on the strain, depends on the herd. But then what you have after that is you have the development of these chronic shedders, animals that survive the outbreak. They don't die, but they continue shedding the bacteria. And then every year, when the lambs are born, after their maternal immunity wanes, they catch pneumonia and they die. And so year after year, you have a failure of lamb recruitment. And so you have a population that just never performs. And so, right now there are other limitations. We have areas, where habitat is a limitation. Certainly in southern Nevada, especially, water is a limitation. But across the West, disease continues to be the biggest limitation of bighorn sheep recovery. And, in some areas, there's not a lot we can do about it because even if you clear it, it's going to be reintroduced because of the connectivity that we created. We're almost a victim of our own success in that way, in that we've recovered bighorn sheep in a lot of areas, and we've created connectivity between mountain ranges, is what we want to see. That's what the natural system is. But it means that we now have movement of disease too. In some areas that we can do test and call, where we find the chronic shedders and we remove them from the population. We allow the lamb recruitment to recover. It's been trialed a couple of times, sometimes with great success. First was done in Hell's Canyon between Oregon and Idaho. And they saw great success there with recruitment. So the bacteria is called Mycoplasma pneumoniae. And what it does is it impacts in your trachea, there's these little cilia that move material out of your lung. So, you inhale junk. We talked about wildfires earlier. You inhale smoke. So every once in a while you cough something up kind of, and then, you swallow, you spit it out, and the cilia help move things up, up your trachea and out of your lung. So we certainly have had a lot of success to recover bighorn sheep. That has more bighorn sheep than any other Western state. But, we've kind of reached this stable area. We're slightly declining, where we did really well, and now we've had some disease impacts. We've declined a little bit. That's having significant impacts. We have herds that either are clean and are doing really well. We also have some herds that have a disease, and it's just a strain that is not as virulent. Virulence depends on strain, just like a lot of other diseases. And so they have one that's not as virulent, and they do okay with it. Honestly, one of our most successful herds in Mount Jefferson is positive for MLB. We don't know the strain type because we've never found it on PCR. We've only noticed that they are exposed to it, and they're a wildly successful population. So we have those. Some of it's going to be habitat related. Talked about earlier, better nutrition, better quality of nutrition, better forage, the better the immune system, and the better animals are going to be able to have that. So it's that interaction between the environment, the animal, and the pathogen that really affects the outcome.